It's Thursday, February 19th, and we have what could be a potential severe weather outbreak. Producer, we have a slight and a marginal risk centered over the Ohio River Valley, covering much of the Midwest. We also have a general thunderstorm risk, which expands out into the mid-Atlantic and parts of the Great Lakes region as well. We also have this little kind of pointer finger like thunderstorm risk out here in parts of the West. We're mostly going to be focusing on our main severe weather risk in this video, though. There is going to be a potential for a couple of tornadoes. Maybe a couple could even be strong, but I think it's mostly going to be just weak and widespread. With this, we also have our primary threat, which is going to be a damaging wind threat. Wouldn't be shocked to see gusts up to 70 miles an hour from this. Then we also just have a general hail risk, which essentially fits the same area as our wind threat. Would not be surprised to see hail, potentially even up to 2 inches today. And this system is going to unfold in 4 main parts. We're going to have our morning convection, which is going to be a couple hours before sunrise that this pops off. It's going to move through areas, maybe Indianapolis, and then also northeastern Indiana before it fizzles out right after sunrise, probably actually a couple hours after that. And then we're going to have our main line, which starts to get going. That's also going to be from some synoptic forcing, our early morning forcing, then a cold front as well. This is going to be on the main cold front, though. This line right here also kind of with some synoptic forcing, and then this is going to eventually consolidate and develop into our main cluster today. So this main cluster is what we're really going to want to watch right here. This is going to have the potential to produce all hazards and have the greatest potential to produce those strong damaging winds. We're also going to see in front of this, as this low pressure system back here really starts to crank, we're going to see a lot of evection of some warm, moist air, and that's what is going to initiate these prefrontal cells here. There also might be a bit of a prefrontal trough, but I think this is mostly just from advection, and then if maybe anything, a weak confluence line. Don't really see that though. So mostly just advection is going to initiate these baby cells right here, and what these are going to do, these could cluster, and they're going to kind of settle along the warm front, which is advecting. Now, all of these storms on the warm front, I would say even as far as this line right here around the eastern Ohio border right here, if I were to draw a line, are going to have the potential to produce severe weather, and that is including tornadoes. Now, once this main line pushes through, this is going to last all the way into the night hours. We're actually going to see it probably peak. We have a couple of areas that the HRRR is showing maybe even being Boeing segments, and a couple of cells to the south of that popping off, also having ingredients, really good ingredients. This would be in the mid-afternoon around 3 p.m. that we could see a peak. So people are going to be coming home from work around this time. Really not the ideal period to see this. And this is going to be a combination from when our jet reaches its maximum strength, then also when the ingredients for these storms are at their best, because it is going to take time for all of this warm air advection to kind of come into place from our low pressure system. And this is a time where we could see it peak. Now we're going to see something weird. This strong line is going to leave a bit of an outflow boundary behind it, and the HRRR is showing some confidence that we could see convection along this outflow boundary. I'm not super confident that we will see this, because the HRRR does like to kind of overcook convection on outflow boundaries. Would not be shocked to see this though. Then this will have similar ingredients minus the instability and all the moisture, just kind of on a muted level that we're seeing in our main line right here. So I would not be surprised to see something like this produce all hazards of severe weather as well. Now, our fourth and final concern is going to be these little cells that pop up after sunset, unfortunately, in the central Kentucky region. This is also going to have some pretty solid ingredients, and I think it could produce all hazards of severe weather as well, although I think it's going to have a much lower chance as the ingredients down here farther away from our low pressure system and at night are not going to be as good. And this guy right here is going to be the main thing that's causing all of this weather. We have a really strong low pressure system that's going to take a bit of a negative tilt. So that means it's going to have really the maximum potential to advect all of this warm, moist air into a little bit of a warm sector that we'll see here. And we'll also see this red, which is indication of much stronger flow and much stronger forcing right about when we'll see those first lines of storms in the morning pop up. And then something that we'll notice as we move a little bit more into the future, we'll see this little purple blotch right here. This is going to be kind of its main ejection, and this is going to be the strongest part of our line. That's when we'll start to see our main line form with this, and this is going to produce so much forcing and is really going to be a main thing that lets these storms sustain themselves and is also going to produce all of that strong shear to help them maintain those strong updrafts as well. And this is really the main thing causing all of that forcing. We're going to see not super strong forcing at the 500 millibar level. This is actually at the 700 millibar level. And at the 500 millibar level, we see something that still looks really solid. It's just definitely on the 700 millibar level, we're seeing those much stronger winds, and 700 millibar winds are actually something that are important, especially for tornado potential. So that's one of the reasons why I do think we could see some more tornado potential today specifically. And now we're going to do our deep dive. These are the first line of cells before sunrise today. And something we're going to notice, it's going to be pretty cool and dry, so not really that unstable. We still do see it reach around 500 joules per kilogram of mixed level CAPE, and then we also do see 67.3 CAPE. So these storms will surprisingly have a bit of instability to work with, but because it's so cool and dry and we have this really, really strong kind of warm and dry nose poking out, I think that these storms will really only be able to produce damaging winds. If that, I think these are going to have a much harder time going severe, but I do think they will definitely, at the minimum, be some thunderstorms that do pack a punch. And then this is going to be the environment in front of our main line around the mid-afternoon hours. And a couple of things we're going to notice, not that warm, but 60-degree Fahrenheit dew points. That's going to be definitely enough moisture for this storm to definitely get its act together. We would like to see a little bit more moisture, definitely for a setup like this to really get that true full realized potential all hazards threat, but I definitely think that's going to be sufficient for this considering all the other ingredients. We do see some weak wind varying. These storms are definitely going to be surface based, so it does mean they have the potential to produce tornadoes. And one thing that's going to bolster that tornado threat, one of the reasons why I definitely think we're going to see tornadoes today, and I definitely do think we have the potential to see maybe a strong tornado that would be around the EF2 level. We have around 183 CAPE. That is super duper high, and that is going to make it super easy for these storms to maintain spin and then kind of stretch that spin into the vertical and even create tornado genesis. Also, in general, we have around 1,000 to 1,300 CAPE in general. That's going to be another reason why I think these storms are going to have no problem producing, and our shear is going to be just off the charts. Nearly 40 knots of low level shear, nearly 350 surface helicity, and then also on top of that, our deep layer shear is going to be around a staggering 90 knots. And then also look at our hodograph, nearly a textbook curve in the low levels and a really strong extension out in the upper levels. I have nearly no doubt with this that we are going to see some strong severe weather and a couple of tornadoes. Now, the main hindrance is going to be our lack of a super high dew point, but considering all of these other super favorable ingredients, I would be surprised if we didn't see potentially large hail with this. We also have quite a bit of CAPE up here where our hail is going to form. So I wouldn't be surprised to see large hail with this, maybe up to 2 inches. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of tornadoes, maybe even a strong tornado with this. And I definitely think we're going to see some damaging winds out of our main line. Now, what's important to note, I did also mention all of those prefrontal cells that are going to be kind of clustered up along a warm front like this. Those are going to have similar environments to work with. So I think those prefrontals are definitely going to be something to watch. Will they be as strong as the main line? No, but I also think those are going to have the potential to produce all hazards as well. And the last thing I'm going to do is look at our storms moving through central Kentucky. A couple of hours after sunset, it's going to be pretty much pitch black and dark at that point. A couple of things to note: similar environment thermodynamics wise, but our cape is going to be much lower. Our 3 cape is still going to remain over 100, and because we have that high 3 cape and still pretty much the same level of shear parameters, I think really with this storm a lot more is possible than what meets the eye. We even have a curvature in our photograph still. So with our central Kentucky storm, definitely think a tornado would be possible. I'm not super sure about the hail because our cape's going to be quite a bit lower, but because we still do have some decent 3 cape, then our deep layer shear is just completely off the charts. Would not be surprised to see moderate sized hail with this. Definitely think we're going to see probably some damaging winds out of this. And also something I forgot to note were those cells that could form off the outflow boundary of our main cluster. Those would have a similar environment to what I showed you with the main cluster, except the moisture and the instability would be a bit more muted. So I also think all hazards are possible with that today. So overall, I think this event has a generally high ceiling. I think it could even warrant a enhanced risk from the Storm Prediction Center. Really, the only thing I'm seeing which could be a problem is going to be the lack of moisture, and then our cape isn't as high as we would love to see, but because our 3 cape is so high, I think that's going to pretty much make up for that. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this kind of situation and environment performs. I do think we could absolutely see all hazards today with this though.